Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Brotherly Love in the District. After a little bit of a Thanksgiving break, uh, we're finally back, and we're gonna jump right in today. We'll talk about since we didn't get to last week's games, we'll kind of go over like the game from 2 weeks ago and this past week, and then we'll also go over the next ones or next week's. Then we'll talk about the NHL, how the Flyers have been struggling, how the Caps have really actually been playing amazingly lately. And then the MLB, since we didn't get to talk about it, we'll talk about the MVPs for the AL and the NL and talk about a couple of the big signings and the lockout. So first off, I'm gonna go over to my co-host here, Jacob. And Jacob, it's been a while. How you feeling, especially about Washington? Because we start off with football. So tell me how you're feeling about the football team.
I'm feeling better. The game against the Seahawks, I think the first time this season I can say I'm actually proud of the defense. Despite like the last 2 minutes in the first drive that the Seahawks had, our defense played amazing. But that was, I can honestly say, one of the strangest games I've ever watched in my life.
That was so I didn't see much of the game. I was able to watch most of the second half, but DK Metcalf didn't have even a target until I want to say midway through the third quarter. So I
Yeah,
mean they were locking
that's a
him
good
down.
job on us to be
Yeah,
able to kind of force them elsewhere.
yeah. So DK Metcalf, who's arguably a top receiver in the league right now, didn't have a target until about midway through the third quarter. And honestly, this is more my opinion. You can take this as you will, but Russell Wilson normally is a top three quarterback in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the fact that actually he might be dropping down now with all these young guys coming up, like Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson, who actually kind of took what Russell Wilson had before and made it better. He's more of a Mike Vick kind of player. But
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
Lamar Jackson did have a horrible game on Sunday night, I
I
believe.
have a cool stat about that too, which I'll go over, which has nothing to do with either of our teams. But I think it's a kind of insane stat. But I mean, still, like you guys shut down Russell Wilson, who normally is a top three quarterback in the league and one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league, and he wasn't able to do anything.
Yeah, I'll give Jack Del Rio credit where credit's due. At the beginning of the season, I think that our entire defense was wrong. Like I believe like the theory or like what we were trying to do was just wrong to begin with because we weren't getting any pressure. Our secondary was playing like crap, and Landon Collins was getting burnt, but he made the adjustments, and we've been playing very well. I mean, we were able to. They only got 10 first downs that entire game,
Jeez.
um, and our offense has helped as well because this last game we had over 40 minutes of possession. I think it was around 42. We could have probably should have scored more, but we
Yeah,
our
the
offense
possession time was huge for Washington.
insane. But we played really well, and credits to Taylor Heineke. Yes, he threw a pick to Blitz boy Jamal Adams, who
Yeah.
now has Vince Wilfork career interceptions. So let's give him a round of applause. Um, it wasn't a bad throw though. I mean, it was a probably bad decision, but the throw in itself wasn't that bad. But yeah, he's been doing great as a game manager. Um, our running
And
backs were able to do really well. Each of that, Antonio Gibson almost had 30 carries.
and you can even take this back to 2 weeks ago where you guys were really starting to catch heat against Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
where Taylor Heineke completed 16 passes for 206 yards and three touchdowns. Antonio Gibson had 19 carries for 95 yards. So, I mean, you guys started off hot against Carolina, winning 27-21. And that was on the road. That was in
Yeah,
Carolina,
that
correct?
was in Carolina.
Yeah.
Great,
So,
great game.
coming out from that. And so this is now, after beating Seattle, this is now three in a row or four in
Yeah,
a row.
3 in a row against Cam Newton, who actually played a decent game against us. Tom Brady and then Russell Wilson.
Cam Newton actually hasn't been playing terribly.
He
Uh,
played terrible this past week, but he actually played really well against us, I'd say.
yeah, he went 21 for 27 with 189 yards and two touchdowns. Uh, but I mean, he hasn't been playing like too bad. He's been playing decent. Like you said though, he played pretty bad this past week. So yeah, I mean, you guys are starting to catch heat at the right time. And then going into the Seattle game, I just think I can say confidently that I thought for sure Seattle was going to win this.
I did too, because we're horrible on Monday night. Like, I think I don't remember the exact stat, but I'm pretty sure before this game we were like 2 for 18 or something like that in Monday night. It was I don't remember specifically, but we're horrible at Monday night.
And Russell Wilson has been terrible since he came back from his injury. And I just keep on thinking like Russell Wilson's got to come back. He's got to come back. He's got to come back. Because like I said, like he's a top cornerback or quarterback usually, and he just hasn't been playing well. So I'm just waiting for him.
I think that injury is still like hurting him more than he's letting on, because his accuracy, like some of the throws he missed, like that were wide open, were really questionable. Maybe his thumb and middle, or his pointer and middle finger are still hurt, and that's affecting his accuracy. But he didn't look himself. He took a sack from Shaka Toney where Shaka Toney just pushed him over.
Former Penn Stater, just
10 yards.
Do you remember that play? I think it was either the late third quarter or the early fourth quarter where he forced a pass downfield. I think it was DK Metcalf's first, maybe second target. He forced a pass downfield. It was third down. And if he didn't force that pass downfield, there was someone wide open in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I remember the play.
Wide open. And I'm sitting there watching the game like, dude, why don't you just throw that pass? Like, that's an easy 20-yard gain, and you're at midfield. Like, you're under a lot less pressure at that point. And I think he was just looking for too much overall in that game.
We easily could have had like a few interceptions, because Bobby McCain got hit in the chest a few times. And there's a few other plays where we probably could have gotten an interception. And did you see the play where he threw an interception on the 1-yard line?
Yeah, I think I did.
DK Metcalf was open, but good job on Kendall Fuller reading Wilson's eyes and shifting over to, I don't remember the wide receiver's name, but to intercept it.
So you guys are getting a little confidence going late into the season.
We found an identity finally.
Do you have anything to add? You have anything to add about the last couple of weeks for Washington before I just go on an absolute rant about the Eagles? Because I have a lot of information that I'm actually excited. I'm not excited about the game, but I'm excited to talk about the information that I do have. Like anything about the future for Washington or what happened in these past couple of games.
If we're able to continue the form, we could possibly make it into the playoffs, considering how bad the NFC is this year.
And they're ranked as number 7 right now. If the playoffs were to end today, they would be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they'd be in the playoffs. And we're facing the Raiders, and the rest of its division games. Those are all winnable games. Because the Eagles, we'll get into that. And the Giants just, I don't think they're a good team. If you look at every single team in the NFC East, they're the ones that are worst off.
Yeah, they are terrible, which is why this makes it even more painful.
Yeah, I think we've found an identity. Taylor Heineke's been playing well. Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas are coming back, and Antonio Gibson is looking like a stronger and stronger runner. He hit a nice spin move on Bobby Wagner, of all people, to get a first down, and it was just a great move. And if JD McKissick is healthy, because he had a scary looking injury, but he's able to walk through the off the field. He's been playing really well. He's been patient, and our offensive line has really been stepping up, considering we're on our 3rd or 4th center this year. So I'm really impressed with the team.
Where was JD McKissick before he was with Washington? Oh, he was with San Fran.
Yes, he was.
That's right.
New Chris Thompson, if any of you guys are
interested. I remember Chris Thompson. That man was either a fantasy boom or a fantasy bust. He never had an in-between game. And he was every time we got the ball, he always made plays, and you're like, why aren't we giving him the ball more? So also Taylor Heineke is the only undrafted free agent to be a starting quarterback right now, like a continuous starting quarterback.
Yeah, I heard them mention that.
Yeah. But with that, we're going to start off on the little bit of the better side, and we'll start with the Saints game from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a good game.
That was 40-29 win, which overall, that was just a dominant game overall. Number one rushing defense in the league, and they still ran all over them. I'm trying to pull up. So rushing for the Eagles, they still ran all over them. They had 50 rushes in the game, 50 for 242 yards. Yes. So Miles Sanders had 16 carries for 94 yards, averaging 5.9 yards per carry. Again, absolute insane numbers. Jalen Hurts again up there, 69 yards. Jordan Howard got hurt in that game, which I think also hurt the Eagles this past week. He had 10 rushes for 63 yards. But overall, it was a dominant win. They didn't have to pass the ball much, which was good because Marshawn Lattimore, PJ Williams, the Saints secondary is somewhat decent. Like, it's not terrible. It's not great, but having Jalen Hurts have to throw the ball a lot would have been scary.
We saw the next week.
Yeah, the defense the defense played great against Trevor Siemian in that game. Darius Slay, he scored in that. No, he did have a pick six in that game.
Yeah, I remember.
So he had, I want to say that was 3 touchdowns in 4 games for Darius Slay. Yeah, he's having a Pro Bowl year. He's doing amazing right now. So overall, that was just a dominant win. And most of those points came after the second half, because going into the first half, going into halftime, it was 27-7. And the Saints came out for a little bit and made it look like they were going to make it a game, and then Eagles pulled away again. Did you see that juke that Jalen Hurts put on one of the Saints D linemen?
I did not.
Oh my gosh, it was nasty. He took the hardest step to the outside and cut back inside, put one of their D linemen on his butt. Absolutely insane move. I couldn't believe it, but yeah, that was insane. But going on to the more painful part of the Eagles, but this is where I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm not happy.
The Eagles should be ashamed of themselves.
I'm not happy about the win, but loss, but I mean, it is what it is. So first off, yes, it was a terrible loss. They should not have lost that game. Let me just start off with this just to make it easier. I'm going to start on the defensive side of the ball as opposed to the offensive side. The defense played amazing. Defense did what they could. They held them. With the amount of times that the Giants had the ball, the game should have been a lot worse than it was. Defense played amazingly, made Daniel Jones uncomfortable. They held Saquon Barkley to 40 rushing yards, and 32 of them came on a single carry. So in 13 attempts, he ran for 40 yards. In 12 attempts, he ran for 8. So I mean, they were holding him down. He only averaged 3.1 yards per carry. So they played against Saquon really well, which was one of my biggest fears because Saquon is an animal. So that was one of my biggest fears. But defense played amazingly. There's nothing really more to it. Going to the offensive side of the ball,
Jalen Hurts dropped that. He laid an egg that game.
First off, they needed to run the ball more. They did not. They ran the ball 33 times, but for 200 yards. And yes, that's still good numbers, but Jalen Hurts threw the ball, dropped back to throw the ball 31 times, and he only completed 4 passes, and he threw 3 picks. He should not. If they just have to run, they could have ran the ball 5 more times, 6 more times. I mean, Miles Sanders is a home run hitter. Give him the ball a couple times, and you don't have to worry about that as much. And that's where I get into this. They didn't give Sanders the ball enough. Listen to Sanders' stat line. Are you ready for this? 9 carries for 64 yards for 7.1 yards per rush. And in the second half, I want to say it was the last 2 drives, he was on the field once in the last 2 drives of the second half. That is terrible. Why? It looked like, okay, there was a point in the game where it looked like he was limping off the field. So I don't know if they were trying to nurse an injury there, but he came out in the second half and he was playing in the second half. So that's where I'm confused. He was tearing up the Giants by himself with his rushing. And I don't know why they didn't give him the ball more. And so you see where they then have to he had the same amount of yards as Boston Scott did with 6 less carries. So then
Yeah,
with
that's
them not throwing the ball as much, that leads into Jalen Hurts having to throw the ball. Now, to preface this, I think Jalen Hurts can be a good quarterback. He did not show it in this game, but he can be a good quarterback. He made bad decisions in this game overall. And
he
if they
needs
keep
time
on
to
working,
develop his quarterbacking skills
if they
while he
keep
has his
on
legs.
where this is, so that's something that's going to come in big in these next couple of weeks is, as of right now, he's not the starter next season. Like, it's hard to look at next season when you still have 6 more games left in this season, but you have to be looking that way because as of right now, he's not the starting. He's not even in the conversation yet. He's not the starting quarterback. So this is where the vital games come in because they have to look at the way he's playing. He has to think about the way he's playing. And this is really going to set up if he's going to be a starter next year for the Eagles. And so after this game, it looks like it's going to be a no. So, like I said, 14 completions, 129 yards and 3 interceptions, not a single touchdown. I want to go over the interceptions though. The first interception didn't look like it was entirely his fault. Quez Watkins looked like he just stopped running the route. And so I believe it was Julian Love who picked it off. So that gave Love a chance to jump the route and pick it off. So that one wasn't entirely his fault. That one it is what it is. Quez Watkins should have kept running the route and he stopped, and that was the big issue there. The second interception, you cannot throw. There is 10 seconds left in the half. It's second down, and you need to, if you don't have anyone open, you need to throw that ball out of the back of the end zone, throw it a mile into the stands to make sure no one gets it, and leave it at that, kick your field goal, go into the half down 10-3. Not worrying about anything. You got plenty of time left in the second half. That ball was a terrible, terrible ball. And prior to that, Greg Ward should have caught that pass. They ran a perfect pass play. They had Hurts roll out, and they had Ward on an out route. Perfect play. Ward, who is known for just having good hands and being a possession receiver, should have had that. So it didn't end the way it should have. Let's put it that way. The third interception was not only a terrible pass, it was also a terrible play by Reagor. If Reagor would have stopped and came back, which it's easier said than done. If you are running downfield as fast as you can, it's easier said to just cut back and jump for the ball than it is for to actually do it because you have all your forward momentum. But you can see where the DB was kind of on him. He had his hands on his hips, like holding on to him as he was going down the field. And if he would have cut back, that would have been a PI call. You're not getting an interception there. You're getting way better field position at midfield. That could have been handled better by Reagor. Not only Hurts by not throwing that pass, but it also could have been Reagor by cutting back and trying to make a play on that ball. Now, getting away from that and getting to the receiver part,
Jalen Reagor.
Jalen Reagor's drops. So
dropped 2 game-winning touchdowns.
Oh yeah, the first one, I was listening to a podcast where Jason Avant, former Eagles wide receiver, he was talking about that. He goes, 9 times out of 10, that would have been a PI call. He goes, but when that is a game deciding touchdown with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he goes, you're not getting a PI call on that. He's like, unless you try to make a play on the ball where it's blatant, he goes, that's going to be a play. That's not going to be a PI call when it's a game deciding catch. He goes, first, second, third quarter, that's a PI call every single time. He goes, fourth quarter, not happening. That one, it was in his hands, but the defender was draped over him a lot. So it could have gone either way. The play, though, that I want to talk about the most is that 4th and 10 that decided the game, where Jalen Hurts was in the pocket and he threw it to Jalen Reagor and it went right through Jalen Reagor's hands.
It was a bad drop.
Jalen Reagor should have caught that easily. Like you get paid to catch those types of balls. The closest defender was 2 yards behind him. He had all day, but it looked like he was trying to brace for a hit and just like kind of closed his eyes and just waited for the ball to hit his hands and lost track of it, and that's where it fell out, which is a big issue. He should have caught that, but they can't harp on that for these next couple of weeks. They have to wipe it from their brain and they have to keep on playing. They got an easy game against the Jets next week. But also one of the things that I'm seeing in this that even I looked at first and agreed with it, but after hearing some other reporters review the play and everything. So on that play, Jalen Hurts is back in the pocket and Devontae Smith is running a crosser route. And at the end of that cross route, he cuts it upfield. And when he cuts it upfield, he's pretty wide open and he probably has a good shot at getting a touchdown there. Here's the issue though with that play where all these Eagles fans are like, he should have thrown it to Smith here. He should have thrown it to Smith here. First off, that's a crossing route. That's just meant to go across the field and stop there. I don't think either of them are experienced enough to know that they're going to cut up field and to be able to connect there. So there's that. Secondly, James Bradbury is a good NFL corner. He's definitely the best corner in New York. He's a top
Not
corner.
saying much stuff.
Yeah, he's also a top corner in the league. So you also got to give him a bit of respect there because yes, he was trailing, but he could have caught up and made a play there. Third thing that happened on that play, when Smith started cutting up the field, Hurts was getting pressure from around the back, so he had to step up in the pocket and move over to buy himself more time, which gave Bradbury more time to catch up to the play, Smith a little more time to get downfield. And Hurts doesn't have the arm power that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, quarterbacks like those do. He can't make those throws running away from the play on going left when he's a righty and trying to throw it across his body.
That's
not
a
happening.
dangerous throw that should not be made.
Yeah, that's also a dangerous throw. So he has to get back and reset himself, plant his feet, get his shoulders square, and throw that ball. So you're adding another second to that play that needed to be done in order for him to make that pass, which he didn't have time for. He looked downfield, saw Reagor open through that pass. That's where Reagor should have caught that. So yes, everyone's mad that Smith was open on that play. But if you look at that and you hear other reporters and you watch the play again, you can see that he actually made the wise decision in not passing that ball because he didn't have time to dodge the defender, get back up, reset his hips and his shoulders, get square, and throw that pass. No way that was being complete. That's a pass that should not have been thrown. So yes, that was a bad pass and Reagor should have caught that. But overall, Hurts made the best play in that occasion.
Yeah, that was the correct decision. But if I was the Eagles, I'd be if I was both teams, I'd be very worried. And if I was a fan of either team, I'd be worried because on the Giants offense, they only scored 7 points against an Eagles defense that has struggled.
They scored 13 because they kicked 2 field goals.
Oh, yeah, they scored 13 and they only scored
They only scored 1 touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the injured Saints were able to score 29 points against the Eagles. With the very unexperienced quarterback who threw 2 picks, 2 or 3. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, if I was the Giants, I'd be worried about that. And if I was the Eagles, I would be like, what do we do?
Because it's not even like it's the Eagles offense where you're more like, what do we do? Because the Eagles defense played amazing. The Giants should have put up 25, 30 points on the Eagles right there. They should not have only scored 13. The Eagles defense gave Daniel Jones hell. I mean, to be honest, they made Daniel Jones uncomfortable in there and they played the best they could with how much they were on the field.
And if I was the Eagles, like after this week, you have the Jets coming up, and then after this week, you're facing Washington. That I don't think that's a good matchup. And this is just the homer speaking, but your strength is in the running game. Our strength in our defense is run defense. We're actually pretty good in our run defense. It's our secondary that has really killed us this season. We are able to limit the Seahawks to very little rushing yards.
Seahawks also don't have good running backs.
They don't have
Their
good
top
running
back
but
is
they have
Alex
Wilson.
Collins.
And they had that guy with the dreads. I don't remember his name, but
yeah, that's Alex Collins.
Okay, yes, I knew that.
Chris Carson's out for the season now.
Yeah, but
The Eagles
I just think
rushing
it's a
attack.
bad match.
The
Yeah, I
Eagles
just think
rushing
it's a
attack is
bad
terrible.
matchup
Uh,
for the Eagles against Washington.
so
'Cause
this
you're obviously going to try and force Jalen Hurts to throw, and as we've seen, once you do that, it's not a good strategy. And considering that now Landon Collins has found a very good role where he's a drop down safety, where he's roaming the middle of the field, like he's
playing
more of a
linebacker.
linebacker than anything. I think it should be a worry for the Eagles.
Uh, so yeah, going into the future, Eagles have the Jets matchup, which I'll talk about right now.
Yeah.
They have to use this game as a bounce back. They need to beat the Jets by 50 is what they need to do. Realistically, that won't happen, but they
No.
should at least beat the Jets by 20. That's what I'm calling right now.
Anything less, I would consider a failure.
Yes, they need to beat the Jets by 20. They need to look at this game, know how bad that they played, and I think, frankly, going into this game, they were thinking, oh, it's just the Giants. We're fine. Don't worry about it. And that really got to them and made them lose ultimately. So yeah, they need to go in and they need to kick the crap out of the Jets for self momentum, mental buildup. Like they need to get as much momentum from that game as they can, because going into the last 4 weeks after that, they have a bye week after the Jets, and they have 4 straight division games, and they are all vital games to the playoff picture if they want to try to make the playoffs and all that. And one thing that I heard from another reporter that I listen to on the daily, basically, is so as an Eagles fan, as an Eagles player, I guarantee they're all looking at the schedule. I know I was looking at the schedule going, oh yeah, Giants, winnable games, the Jets, winnable games, Washington, winnable games. Look at their records. They're terrible. All those teams are doing the same thing to the Eagles. The Giants are looking at the Eagles and they're like, especially after this game, they're like, yeah, they're 5-7. That's a winnable game. We just kicked the crap out of them. The Jets are like, wow, they have 3 more wins than us. They're not that great. Washington's looking at them like, we practically have the same record as them. Like they just played terribly against an awful Giants team. That's an easy win.
We just beat 3 good teams with great quarterbacks in a row. They're yeah, we could beat them.
They're like, yeah. So every team's looking at the Eagles the same way the Eagles are looking at them. So the Eagles are going to be getting the best shots from all of those teams that they're playing for the rest of the year. So I mean, yeah, like you can look at all those teams and be like, yeah, those are winnable games, but you can't take them lightly because they're thinking the exact same thing going into that game about the Eagles.
Yeah, it's going to be a very integral thing. And going to Washington's schedule, we have the Raiders, which I think is a winnable game, considering I think Darren Waller, he's questionable, and the Raiders
I think he's out.
But they've been all over the place this year. It seems they started out good, but they did just beat the Cowboys,
which was a very penalty-ridden game. I don't know if you saw that, but that game was awful.
Yeah, and then we have the Cowboys coming up. I honestly think that's a toss-up. I genuinely do not know how that's going to go. I really don't. And then we have Eagles, Giants. Oh, Cowboys, Raiders, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants. So those I'd say
you have 2 matchups against the Cowboys.
Yeah, we haven't played the Cowboys once this year.
That's tough.
Yeah, but I think we're looking at it like we're well within a spot to reach the playoffs. We definitely could win the division. I don't know. That depends more on the Cowboys than it does us. But I think we could at least win 4. I think that's kind of lofty in expectations, but they're all winnable games.
So Eagles going into this Jets game. Let's finish previewing this game. These games. Eagles going into the Jets. The Eagles are 11-0 all time against the Jets. They have never lost a single game against the Jets.
Wow.
The Jets are 3-8. They have Zach Wilson, right?
Did you see that interception he threw?
I'm not sure.
He threw it off of his wide receiver's butt, and
oh yeah, I think I did see that.
The butt interception.
Yeah.
Now ingrained in football history.
The Eagles are 7-point favorites over the Jets. So yeah, they need to win this game. I'm obviously going to take the Eagles in this
I
game.
am too.
They should
if
beat them by 20.
if the Eagles lose to the Jets, you just need to throw the whole season out.
This is a game where you let Jalen Hurts pass a little bit more and you absolutely dominate with the run because the Eagles have the best offensive line in football right now. Landon Dickerson in the trenches in the run game is an absolute animal. You get him with forward momentum, you can forget about it. Jordan Mailata, absolute freak of nature, like 6'8" and 300 plus pounds. Like they have the best offensive line in football. They did just lose Jack Driscoll though, which is he had to get put on IR for a second time, which means he's done for the season. But right now they need to be taking advantage of the fact that they have the best O-line in football and move the ball on the ground, especially with
game to regain your confidence.
Yes, it is. That's the biggest thing here. That's all I want to see. I just want to see an absolute domination because this is also a time to let the defense just rest for a little bit. Like, I mean, because the offense should be on the field most of the time. That's what I see. But yeah, I think we both can take that game there. And Washington has the Raiders. Oh, wait, one more quick thing. Jalen Hurts, you know what his passer rating against the Giants was?
40.
No, a whopping 17.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. But back to the Washington game. Washington against the Raiders, dude. The Raiders are tough.
They're a tough
Hunter
team.
Renfrow is an insane receiver. Like now with Ruggs gone, he's getting more attention. And Renfrow is kind of slept on. He had 8 catches for 134 yards last week.
I had him in fantasy, but I still got whooped.
So I'm gonna take the Raiders in this game because I'm
gonna take Washington.
Oh,
I'm probably gonna regret it, but
I mean, honestly, you guys are on a hot streak, and you get hot at the right time. Honestly, that's not a terrible pick because I could see it going either way.
Yeah, and considering that Darren Waller is hurt, and I think we'll be able to shut down Josh Jacobs enough. I think
Josh Jacobs has honestly not done much this year.
He really hasn't. And considering how all over the place they have been this year, I think we can win it.
So I'm trying to see if Darren Waller's playing, but I'm not sure. And the Raiders fell to the Giants. So
yeah, but they did beat the Cowboys in that game on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but like I said, that was a penalty-ridden game. That could have gone either way. And so 2 more things before we close out from football. First off, this will be more focused on. This is something that can go for Washington and the Eagles. Honestly, if either of our teams make the playoffs, they might be able to mess around and maybe win a game or 2 in the playoffs.
I can honestly,
because every single one of these final 5 games is a playoff game for them. They are fighting for their playoff lives in every single one of these games. So they're going into the playoffs where like Tampa, Green Bay, they're all just moseying on in, not worrying about anything, where Washington and Philadelphia will already have been fighting for their playoff lives the entire time. So I think if either of those teams make the playoffs, they could maybe mess around and win a game.
Yeah, teams that have been playing playoff football for a few weeks that go against teams that have already secured and have been resting players, that's like a recipe for an upset.
Look at what Washington did against Tampa last year.
Yeah, we had a good shot, and this was
you didn't win, but I mean, you still put up a good fight.
Yeah, we saw this a while back. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Denver Broncos when they had Shannon Sharp. They had John Elway. They were the best team in the NFL, I think, in terms of record-wise, but they lost to the Jaguars, who had Mark Brunell as their quarterback, mainly because they were playing playoff football for a few weeks up to that point. And we saw it in hockey.
Yeah, when, Tampa and Columbus.
Yeah, we saw Tampa and Columbus when if the quarantine didn't happen, the Flyers have been playing playoff hockey
Oh my
for a few
gosh.
weeks.
The Flyers, I'm
That's been
still bitter.
dangerous.
The Flyers would have won the division.
I know you were a few points away, and we
We
were
were
talking
1 point behind. The only reason
and then it
the
got
Flyers,
shut.
the only reason they didn't win was because the Capitals played the dang New Jersey Devils and they got the loser point because they lost in overtime. The only reason. And the Flyers had Tampa that night. I remember that like it was yesterday. I was watching that. You guys beat the New Jersey, or no, you didn't even beat them. You lost to them in overtime, the New Jersey Devils, and you got the loser point. And Philadelphia was going down to Tampa, and I'm like, dude, we're good. Like, we got this.
You were the hottest team in hockey.
Yeah, it was. That was brutal. One more thing about the Washington Raiders. Foster Moreau is a good tight end. He's the backup for Darren Waller. Darren Waller's out, but Foster Moreau played really good in replacement of him against the Eagles. So I wouldn't put that past him too much. And then going back to that Lamar Jackson thing from earlier. So Lamar Jackson has 11 picks this season, and 10 of those have come in a total of 4 games. He had 2 against the Chargers, 4 against the Browns. Then he had 2 more games where he had 2 each. I don't remember what teams those are. But in every single one of those games where he had more than 1 interception, they won. They're 4-0 in games where he has more than 1 interception. Yeah, like that blows my mind. Absolute wonky stat. But I think it
makes no sense to me.
Yeah. You ready to go over to hockey? Although that's really not something to look at either, but we'll start out the same way. Now, how you feeling about the Caps? They're playing well.
I don't know if we're
You're the number 1 team in the division right now.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The only loss we've had since the last time we talked was a really tough game where we blew a lead against the Panthers, which, to be fair, they're a good team. We had a 4-1 lead and then we lost it. Bad loss, but other than that,
and the Panthers are a really good team.
Yeah, they're one of the best teams in hockey, but other than that, we beat Carolina 4-2. We beat the Panthers 4-3. Beat the Habs 6-3. We beat the Kraken. We've been playing good, and the last week, I think he was first star of the week.
He's third in scoring still behind Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
I thought he passed him at some point.
I don't know.
I think he's above McDavid because
no, I just looked today. He's third again. Draisaitl has 41, McDavid has 40, and Ovi has 37, I believe.
Okay, but last week in 3 games, he had 4 goals and 3 assists. He had a hat trick, he had a hat trick of assists in 2 separate games. He's been playing amazing, and I'm surprised at how well Evgeny Kuznetsov has been playing this season. As you probably remember, I was not looking at Kuznetsov very well. I was wanting him to leave.
Yeah.
And
the Capitals are a team that have been playing without a full lineup. The Capitals haven't played a single game with a full lineup yet.
Yeah. Backstrom hasn't played a game. Oshie's been out for a while. Mantha's having surgery.
That's the difference between what the Caps are able to do right now and what the Flyers are able to do, is just how they're playing. Because the Flyers also, they've had 1 game with the entire lineup. But in that, I don't even know if you can really count that, because in that game, they had to put Ryan Ellis on the 3rd line because he was still recovering from injury.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that full lineup.
The Flyers still really have yet to play a game with a full lineup. And Joel Farabee just got hurt, who had 3 goals in 3 games. So that just makes everything in Philadelphia that much better. But yeah, I mean,
Capitals are missing depth.
The Capitals are clicking on all cylinders right now. I mean, it's really, and something that the Caps always have going for them is that power play, because
power play is insane.
There is no way you can stop the Ovi. you know it's going to happen. You can lock someone onto Obi, but he's
If
gonna
you do
get
that,
that
you're going
slap
to open
shot.
up somebody else.
There's
That's always
nothing you can do
been
about it.
why we're so dangerous, because if you think about Ovi too much, you're
You
going to
got
get a goal scored on you by somebody else.
Yeah, you got Carlson, you got Kuznetsov. Once Oshie comes back, you got Oshie back. I mean,
With Wilson as well, because we put him in front of the net.
So yeah, I mean, the Caps are just playing amazingly. Do you know what their PK is looking like? Oh, here it is. PK 83%, which is good for 11th in the league.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, that's not terrible. I mean, honestly, like for me, in my opinion, you don't need a top power play unit. You don't need a top PK unit. As long as for PK, you're in that 80 to 85 region. And then on the power play, like high for a power play is north of 25. So as long as you're in like that 20 to 25% region, I'm happy. Okay, so you ready to just I'm gonna go on again and just ramble off about the rough area that the Flyers have been having. So
before we go on to that, I think one of the our other areas of success is the young guys that we've been able to bring in. They're really taking the pressure off the older guys. And guess which Capitals player is 15th in points right now? Just give it a guess.
Backstrom.
He hasn't played a game this year.
Oh, he hasn't? Jeez. Is it that one? I can't think of his name. Is it that one rookie?
No, it's Tom Wilson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has 8 goals and 15 assists this year.
Yeah, that
His 20
he can be a 30 goal scorer, in my opinion. As much as I hate to say it, because I hate Tom Wilson.
A lot of
I hate Tom Wilson. And you know who else I hate, who they brought into the division because they're sad about Tom Wilson? The New York Rangers bringing in Ryan Reeves. I hate Ryan Reeves. Like, I hated him while he was in Vegas, and the Flyers played him like twice a year. But he is such a dirty player, and so is Tom Wilson.
But the difference between Reeves and Wilson is Wilson can actually score points versus
Reeves doesn't do anything. Reeves just goes in and beats the crap out of people for no reason.
He's playing in the wrong era. He should be playing in the 70s where
he should be playing in the 70s on the Flyers.
Yeah, where you had lines full of
he would be a good definition of Broad Street bullies. Which is, it's terrible. So Flyers have been absolutely terrible lately. Here's a couple more really whack stats for you. The Flyers in the month of November, they haven't been able to score at all. They are averaging 1.67 goals per game since October 30th. Their power play has been terrible. Right now, they are 12.5%, which is good for, I think, third worst in the league. I'm going to double check on that. Yeah, third worst in the league. And they're actually tied for second worst in the league at 12.5%. The only teams worse than them is Montreal, who's tied with them. Oh, and New Jersey. 3 teams tied at second worst in the league with New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Montreal. And the Islanders are the worst team in the league with 10.2% on the power play. I'm still kind of giving the Islanders a pass right now because they did start off the season with 13 games on the road because their arena wasn't fully built yet. So, but if you think about it, the Islanders are typically a team who start out a little bit rough and then catch heat at the end of the season, which means they're going to be catching heat in a time where they're going to have like a ton of home games. So they're going to be in a really good situation coming up towards the end of the season.
One thing that I think is going wrong for your team is that your defense, Carter Hart he can't stand on his head every single night. Your defense,
yes, and that's exactly what it is. Is Carter Hart and Martin Jones are now starting to struggle because they're not getting any run support. I mean, Carter Hart and Martin Jones can make 30 plus saves a night. And if the offense can't hold on to the puck, I mean, they're taking 40, 50 shots a night. I mean,
if you consistently take that many shots each night, you're gonna give in a lot of
Yeah,
goals. I
it's,
don't
I
care who
mean,
you are.
once you start seeing rubber so much, it just throws you off. And I mean, that's something that you're going to see goalies have an issue with. Uh, but going back to their power play, they're 12.5% on the season. Right now, or in the month of November, they were 3 for 40. That's not even 10%. I'm going to do that math real quick.
That's less than 10. That is definitely
Yeah, that's less than 10%. 7.5% on the power play in the month of November. And then last night, I'm adding on this because they just played a game last night against the Rangers and lost 4-1. Last
And before
night,
that, you lost the Devils 5-2.
last night, the Devils game had an empty netter, so that's what made it 5-2. The goalie only gave up 4 goals. Same with last night. Carter Hart only gave up 3. I say only, but
Only 3.
yeah, but the fourth one was an empty netter. Last night, the Flyers had 3 power play chances, including a 5-minute major, and still did not convert on any of them. Yeah, their offense has just been absolutely putrid. It's tough to watch. Like I said,
you have no depth. Like I was saying a few weeks ago, you have league minimum at your second line.
Well, Derek Brassard is hurt, but Kevin Hayes just came back. Yeah, the injuries have been terrible. Ryan Ellis is still out for another 3 to 4 weeks. Kevin Hayes just came back off injury, so hopefully he can stay in the lineup for a little bit. Joel Farabee just got hurt, who, like I said, has been one of our top scorers. Derek Brassard's hurt. Who else? I think that's it for right now. Wade Allison, who was a really good goal scorer for us late in the season last season. Once the Flyers gave up on the season, they just started bringing up players. He came up and he started scoring some points. They brought up Morgan Frost, who they ended up deciding to send down at the beginning of the season to let him play and get into the groove a little bit, where he had, I want to say it was 18 points in 17 games. So, I mean, he was performing really well in the AHL, and they finally brought him back up. He had an assist last night, scored a point in there, so hopefully he's going to start getting hot. But, I mean, yeah, the injuries are just terrible. There's talks of, is Chuck Fletcher going to look to make a trade finally, which is hard to do because you're going to be buying pretty big if you're going to be looking for a trade this early.
And so, I don't know who you trade for that would change things.
Tomas Hertl from the Sharks.
But even then, will that really help you that much? Will that put you in a playoff position? I don't think so.
Luckily, there's still a lot of hockey left to see if we're going to have to worry about it. Honestly, in my opinion, I think a defenseman would be more beneficial than trying to get another forward, because
your defense is putrid.
We see it's not even that. It's just the loss of Ryan Ellis is such a huge loss, because it goes back to the same thing that the Flyers had last year. The year prior, when the Flyers were the hottest team in the NHL right before the break, Matt Niskanen was on the team. He was helping out the team substantially. He gave a consistent partner to Ivan Provorov. He gave an aspect to the offense that the Flyers didn't know they needed, where he can move the puck around. He can play on the power play. He can kill penalties. He can do all that. They made it. They lost to the Islanders in the playoffs. The next season, he retires. They are missing that number 1 spot, and you have to keep on rotating defensemen in, which means you have lack of chemistry. So you don't know where your other defenseman is going to be, which is part of the position. And then you just have a giant hole there where you have to keep on filling players in. Right now, we have Nick Seeler in there, who should not be. He's at best a 7th defenseman in the league. He should not be playing top 6. And if he is, it's for a couple games. It's not for an elongated amount of time, which is what it's going to be right now. That's what the other thing was. There's talks of possibly bringing up Cam York, who was a former first-round draft pick, who played up here, who played in the NHL for 3 games last season. And he looked pretty decent last season. But he's still not ready. Like, he just came out of Michigan last year. So he still needs a little bit more time in the AHL to kind of get his footing down. So, I mean, overall, the defense is just the biggest issue here. the goalies are taking 30, 40 shots every night, which makes it hard for them because you can't stop 30, 40 shots every single night. You can't do that. That's just not possible.
Also,
So
Rasmus Ristolainen playing.
I think he's taken a little bit to kind of get into the flow of playing in Philly, but I think he's starting to pair nicely with Travis Sanheim. He's now starting to get a couple points. One thing, he has a really heavy shot, so having him back at the blue line, just take a couple shots at the net, let someone up front tip it. I think that's going to be a good, pretty good combination there. But I think he's playing quite well. He brings such a big physical presence to the game, and it is amazing.
Another thing,
and he agitates everyone.
If one more thing, if this bad form continues, should you consider getting rid of Claude Giroux?
No, that's a terrible question. How would getting rid of Claude Giroux help this? Claude Giroux, if anything, would be the best player to keep on this team because he has been here since 2010, where the Flyers have gone the last 10 years, every year going on and off, playoffs and not playoffs. So they make the playoffs, they miss, they miss every single year. Claude Giroux is top 4 in points in the last decade with absolutely no one around him.
Which makes all the more sense to get rid of him because he's going to become an unrestricted free agent next year. He's slated to become one. And you could possibly finesse a first-round pick for him, Tristan.
There's no way they're getting a first-round pick for a 32-year-old center. No, he's not even a center anymore. He's a winger.
You can make, like, if it's a team that is already a cup contender, you just need an older presence, maybe.
I can see
this can be an early
there,
first rounder, but it's going to be later. But
I see what you're saying there. But what I'm saying is like, I think one of the biggest issues is they're still trying to gel chemistry. They're 20 games in. It just because at the beginning of the season, they were firing on all cylinders. I think everyone was just hyped, like it was all going. But now, like, stuff are just starting to fall apart. It's like the tower just got the bottom taken out from under it.
But Tristan, with Claude Giroux, if he leaves next season in free agency,
I see what you're saying. If it comes up to the trade deadline, which is what, 50 games into the season, 46 games into
March 21st. I don't know how many games that would be.
Yeah, so that's about a month before the end of the season. If it comes to that point where they need to trade him away, because Claude Giroux is playing amazingly right now. Claude Giroux's, I'll double check on this, but I want to say he's the top point scorer for the for the Flyers right now.
Well, that's not saying much considering the rest of your team is struggling immensely to score.
Travis Konechny needs to step it up. Who else? Cam Atkinson has 1 goal in like the past 10 games. They need a lot of help, especially with the upcoming schedule, which I'll go over in just a sec. Claude Giroux is the top point scorer with 18 points.
Yeah, which means you could possibly get a good pick for him and possibly just try and launch a full rebuild because this isn't working, Tristan.
So you're saying that the
isn't working.
The Flyers should just blow it up.
Yeah.
Sean Couturier, who just got signed to a 8-year deal. Cam Atkinson, 40-goal scorer in the league. Derek Brassard, not really big. Joel Farabee, really good young guy. Travis Konechny still has about 3 more years. Same with Ivan Provorov. JVR could go. I see too much talent on this roster to say blow it up. This is still early. I mean, it's 20 games into the season and there's still okay. Now this is where like your aspect from being a Washington fan actually hurts my opinion here because the Flyers still have yet to really play with a full lineup, but so do the Caps, and the Caps are playing outstanding and the Flyers can't do anything.
And Tristan, we have younger guys to be able to fill in the gaps. You guys don't. You have a lot of age, like your depth guys are aged. Jakob Voracek is old and not on a cheap deal.
He's not even on the team anymore. He's in
Not
Columbus.
I'm thinking somebody, not Voracek.
I don't even know who you could be thinking of. JVR.
Yeah, JVR, guys like that, and Claude Giroux.
That's
Tristan, if he leaves next season, you are missing out on the opportunity to possibly get a late first or an early second rounder, which is something you need. You need more youth in the team, Tristan.
I could see if it comes to the trade deadline and Flyers are still struggling like this,
And I can see them making a trade.
and Claude Giroux is still playing like this, I could see them potentially trading Claude Giroux.
You could get a first out of it.
I don't think it's time to blow it up yet. It's been okay, 2 bad seasons, but so they're in their second bad season.
All your young guys, I'm just saying you need to reset a little bit and move out all your aged players and play some more younger guys.
You're in a season where Chuck Fletcher, the GM, went for an aggressive offseason. He traded to bring Cam Atkinson in, like I said, 40 goal scorer in the league. He brought in Derek Brassard for some depth, brought in Ryan Ellis to be a first pairing D-man, brought in Keith Yandel for some depth, Rasmus Ristolainen to bring in some grit into the team. Nate Thompson, he brought back. He's also hurt. Nate Thompson. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these players, so what I'm seeing is I don't think it's that the team is bad. It's you have players who need to play to their potential. Travis Konechny had 20 goals in that season where they were really hot. He had the same amount of goals in about 20 less games as he did the season prior. Joel Farabee scored 20 goals in 56 games last year in his second year in the league. It's more players need to step it up than the team is bad. I could not look at the Flyers and compare them to. I think the Flyers are on a different level than Montreal, Ottawa, Buffalo. Who else?
No, those teams are just straight up bad.
Yes,
they have no upside.
Those are teams that need to absolutely blow everything up.
I'm not sure, like with those teams, I'm not sure how further you can blow it up. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres fans are tired of
they can trade away the lane.
Yeah, he gave up 2 shorthanded goals to the Kraken. The Kraken aren't a good team. They aren't a good team.
Here are the teams at the bottom of the league, and you tell me if the Flyers are close to what you think they are. Ottawa, definitely not.
They're just bad.
Arizona, definitely.
Arizona, they're purposely being bad.
They're
doing a good job.
Yeah, they're actually really playing good. They're like they play hard for some reason. Like they just can't win games. Like they play hard, they play close, but they just can't.
They're tanking the correct way.
Yeah. The Islanders, who, like I said, on a 13-game road trips at the beginning of the season, I'm not quite ready to evaluate them yet. Montreal, Chicago, the team that they are closest to right now that I think you can compare them to that are lower than them is Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Vancouver is another team just like the Flyers who has good talent and just can't put the pieces together. Thatcher Demko proved he can play well in the NHL. Brock Besser can be at least a 30-goal scorer in the league.
Elias Pettersson
is a top player in the league overall. They
He's
have Oliver Ekman-Larsson. JT Miller has been putting up points this season. So Vancouver and Philadelphia are probably the closest teams in the bottom of the league that I see. The other teams that are below the Flyers, Seattle and Buffalo.
Seattle, that's just a strangely built team. Like, I don't know what their goal was when going into the draft. That's strange, but I think you need to go younger because Giroux, it's not going to be a really cheap deal, especially if he's going to continue to play well. He's going to want cap space. He's going to want money, and that's going to take up your cap space. I just think it'd be within the best interest to say, you know what, it's not going to work anymore. Ship him off to a team that, like, you can maybe get him or send him to the Avalanche. The Avalanche could be a team, but I just think like it. If I was the GM and if things continue to go bad, it would be within the best interest to get younger.
Here are the teams that are ranked above the Flyers, but not by much. So Flyers are 24th. At 21st in the league, Boston, perfection line, still a
They're
really
old.
good team.
They're falling off. They're old.
Number 20, Stanley Cup favorites last season, Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. I don't know what's happening.
19, another really good team in the could potentially win the Central Division, Winnipeg. The perennial playoff contender, the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's about all the really good teams that are ranked right below the Flyers. Then you got Dallas, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Nashville, San Jose, Detroit, St. Louis, Tampa. And what are with these teams? Why is Anaheim number 9, Detroit number 12, San Jose number 13, and Nashville number 14, and Columbus number 16?
Lord knows. But on Boston, I think.
What in the world?
Yeah, Boston. I think that whole team is starting to come to an end because they have very little depth. And like that perfection line is not doing as well as you think it would. And same thing with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, yeah, they're pretty much done.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, I'm not really worried about. Which I think Pittsburgh only has like 2 losses since Crosby came back. So like if the Flyers are still a rank above those teams that they're ranked with right now. And that is, so I'm not, if they play like this once, which we still have time there, I don't want to be worrying about that right now. If they're still playing like this at the trade deadline, then yeah, ship off Giroux, honestly, and ship off JVR.
Yeah, JVR you need to get rid of.
You can probably get rid of, because JVR is on a heavy contract. JVR you could get rid of. If someone offers you for Giroux, then yes. I don't think you ship out Giroux on your own. If someone makes an offer for Giroux and it's a good enough offer, then maybe you consider it.
I do, considering he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and it could be questionable if he's going to stay or not. Because
Nate Thompson could be shipped out if it comes to this.
Tristan, when it comes to Giroux, you have to think about it. He probably wants to make it into the Hall of Fame and probably want a chance at a cup. And I don't think that's going to come with the Flyers in the next few years.
All I'm saying is it's a new month.
New month, same Flyers.
That's about all I got. It's been one game into the month. And listen to this Flyers schedule. Oh, that was another thing that like really has a big part on who they on like their team. Listen to who they played in November. Washington, Toronto, Carolina, Dallas, Calgary, Tampa, Boston, Tampa, Florida, Carolina, New Jersey, and the Islanders. Actually, they didn't play the Islanders. That game got postponed because they got COVID. But that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, not them. 6, 7, 8 games of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 of 13 games against teams who are top 10 in the league.
Yeah, but you still can't score.
The Flyers have the 3rd toughest schedule up to this point of the season. 3rd toughest schedule in the league. Listen to who they have coming up. They have the Rangers last night, another top 10 team in the league. Tampa on Sunday, Colorado on Monday, Vegas. Well, they have Colorado, and then they have the Devils, then they have Vegas, then Arizona, then the Devils again, then Montreal, Ottawa, Capitals, Pittsburgh. So after that Vegas game, things start to lighten up a lot because then they have Arizona, New Jersey again, Montreal, Ottawa, the Capitals, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and San Jose.
Yeah, well, then you won't have any more excuses because,
so I look at it like this. Here's how I look at it. To wrap up my little rant here and our little argument about whether the Flyers are going to be able to do anything or not. You're playing and they also have the 23rd hardest schedule. So 9th easiest schedule for the rest of the season. with that, here's how I look at it. You are playing the toughest competition in the league with a very beaten down team. So you kind of have to look at it as, and then you're going to come back and you're going to have all these easy games. So I would look at it as kind of like you're getting through the toughest part now, and you have like an easy way for the rest of the, you have the easiest part for the rest of the way. Like, would you rather, I would rather start off, look at what the Braves did in the MLB. They played terribly at the beginning of the season. Once it got to the trade deadline, they made a couple moves, they made a push, and they ended up winning the World Series. They got hot at the right time. They had the easiest part of their schedule later. It's the same way I look at it. I'd rather start bad and end out good than start good and end out bad. You got to get hot at the right time. And if you're hot at the beginning of the season, you cannot carry it all the way through.
Yeah, but Tristan, do you honestly think you have the depth? You have the players that can keep healthy to do that. Do you think you have
the only player that I don't think can stay healthy is Ryan Ellis. That is the only player right now that I can look at and confidently say, yeah, he has injury issues.
What about all the other guys that have been injured, Tristan?
Joel Farabee hasn't been injured prior to this, and he might not even be out for an extended period of time. They haven't even done any MRIs or anything. Like, he just got injured last night.
Tristan, you don't have anybody to plug the holes. Like we were saying a few weeks ago, you had to play a league minimum veteran on your second line. And whenever you've called up your younger guys, they haven't really performed up to what you thought they would, correct?
We brought up two young guys, and one of them has played 4 games, and he has 2 points in 4 games, which I think is pretty decent for not playing at all last season. He played, I think, 1 game and 2 shifts before he got injured.
Call up last season. Like,
literally everyone. You name them, we called him up. We brought up Wade Allison for a bit, who should be playing. Once he gets back from his injury, I think he'll be playing in the NHL. They brought up Cam York for a little bit, Igor Zamula for a little bit. That's going to be a good future D pairing. Morgan Frost at the beginning of the season, but he ended up getting hurt. But those are really the only NHL caliber type players that could possibly come up. Is Wade Allison, Igor Zamula, and Cam York. And Igor Zamula, I wouldn't even pull up. It would be Cam York and Wade Allison. And Cam York is an absolute last resort, because I think he needs to stay in the AHL for as long as possible to get a little bit more NHL type caliber play under his belt before he comes up. And that's where I see it with that. I think you need to see what happens in the month of December, because after these first 5 games, your type of competition dwindles down substantially. That's what I see there. So yeah, that was fun. I want to move over to the MLB, where there's a little bit happier news.
How did Shohei Ohtani be an unanimous MVP? I don't disagree that
because Vladimir Guerrero didn't pitch.
Yeah, but not a single voter did not think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won MVP. That I find a little insane. He didn't get a single first place vote, which I find a little ridiculous.
I'm bringing up the MVP.
Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but not getting a single first place vote.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
For a moment there, it looked like he was a genuine contender for the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
I understand Shohei had a great season, but his pitching fell off towards the end of the season. Same with his hitting. He still had an amazing season, but
I want to know who's the person who thought Vladimir Guerrero should finish 3rd.
Yeah,
that's what I want to wonder.
Yeah, but I can't believe he didn't get a single first place vote. That I find baffling.
But let's start off with the more Philly and Washington directed news, with Bryce Harper winning the MVP, which honestly, yeah, I don't think anyone really saw that coming because, didn't see that coming because, like I said, I think Juan Soto came in too late and Fernando Tatis just fell off the face of the planet after the All-Star break. Uh, but yeah, so I remember earlier in the season, Bryce Harper got hit in the face with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. And like I thought for sure he was going to be out for a while. But he ended up coming back and he finished the season with a 309 batting average, 35 homers, 84 RBIs, 429 on base percentage, and a major's best 615 slugging. And he led the majors in OPS with a 1.044 and 78 extra base hits, which were most in the NL. So he played amazing. He finally looks like he's getting comfortable in his skin in Philadelphia. Because if you remember his first season, he was kind of like he was having a rough
Struggled
time.
in the beginning half the season.
Yeah, and he was having a rough time. I think he was just trying to live up to that $330 million contract. Or no, it was just 300 mil. No, it was 330.
It's 300 something.
Yeah. I think he was just trying to live up to that contract, and I think that was just a little bit too much for him. So I think he's finally starting to get comfortable in his skin in Philadelphia, which is good because I think that really helps.
I just need to work on the rest of the team.
Yeah. So, and then Juan Soto finished second with 274 total points, with 6 first place votes and 11 second place votes, 7 third place votes.
Not bad.
And then Fernando Tatis finished third, obviously, with 2 first place votes, 5 second place votes, and 15 third place votes. And then, yeah, like the only reason I think Shohei Ohtani won was because he pitched. Like,
Yeah.
Here's Ohtani's stats for the season. His batting stats, I think this is, oh no, here are his batting stats. So 537 at bats, 103 runs, 138 hits, 46 home runs, 100 RBIs, 26 stolen bases. That's not really 257 average, 372 on base percentage, and a 965 OPS. So his slugging was, I will do that.
592.
Huh? 592.
592.
Okay. So, and then his pitching, 9-2 on the season, 3.18 ERA, which actually went up because he was at a low 2. I remember around the All-Star break.
But it did climb drastically.
Yeah. And then 156 strikeouts with a 1.09 whip.
And his WAR was 4.9 for pitching.
Yeah, so
it's batting.
I think it's that gave him that little bit of an edge was the fact that he was pitching lights out too.
It wasn't really lights out. Like you wouldn't say he's a Cy Young candidate, but
I would have at the beginning of the season.
Beginning of the season, okay, then yeah, that it looked like it was a possibility, but at the end of the season, it kind of fell off because the Angels team, besides him and a few other players, isn't really that great.
Noah Syndergaard just signed there though.
Yeah, I did see that, but Noah Syndergaard, he hasn't really been the same the past few years as he was in his early days with the Mets. But yeah, I still didn't think that Ohtani was going to be unanimous, but I don't disagree with him winning.
So let's talk a little bit about the free agency. So has the Nationals signed anyone?
We've signed somebody off the waivers, but that's really it. We haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for them to re-sign Soto.
The Phillies re-signed Corey Knebel from the Dodgers for their closer. Trying to pull up his stats real quick.
Malcolm Subban was just traded to the Sabres.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait.
PK's brother, he's a goalie.
Oh, Malcolm. I was lost for a second. He got traded to the Sabres. For some reason, my mind was all over the place. I was thinking you meant PK Subban. And then
No.
when you said the Sabres, I automatically thought of Nashville. And I was like, wait, so PK's going back to Nashville? Yeah, my mind was blown on that. Wow, that hurt my head.
Malcolm PK Subban.
Sub-Zero going to Buffalo. So I can't find his 2020 stats.
Who? Corey Knebel?
Corey Knebel.
Knebel.
Yeah.
The K could be silent.
The Phillies are trying to sign Kyle Schwarber, which
you already have a home run hit. You already have Rhys Hoskins. You need more consistent batters to be able to get on base.
Dude, we have such an issue in our outfield. I don't know what's happening with Kutch. I need to look at his.
I think if I was the Phillies, I'd be looking somewhere else to somebody who's won a better and younger player. I just think Kutch is towards the end of it. But Max Scherzer is back in the division with a 3-year, $130 million deal. I'm honestly not even mad at it because that's an insane amount of money.
Yeah, Phillies declined 2022 option on Andrew McCutchen's contract. So Andrew McCutchen's gone. And I think the Phillies declined. Oh, and Odubel Herrera is gone too. No, he was my favorite outfielder. Well, he was my favorite player until Harper came because he was going through his whole thing when Harper came. But yeah, so our outfield is now really sketchy because we don't have a center fielder or a left fielder.
And
so, yeah, I think
we did sign Sir Anthony Dominguez.
We signed Sir Anthony Dominguez, which he has speed. He just needs to work on his location.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to think of somebody, but I can't. You signed Johan Camargo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He'll probably be in the outfield, actually.
He's an infielder. $1.4 million deal.
He was with the Braves.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, the biggest thing I'm worried about right now is the fact that Max Scherzer's coming back to the division. I enjoyed him not being in the division for the final bits of the season. Because
honestly, at this point, I don't really care that much because I know we're gonna be crap regardless.
He has the Phillies number all the time.
Yes, he
absolutely dominates the Phillies so bad every single time they play. I'm actually gonna see if I can bring up his stats against the Phillies because he is lights out against the Phillies. But yeah, Max Scherzer, I don't like the fact that he's going to the Mets. He's really good he's just a good pitcher overall.
If DeGrom can stay healthy, that's gonna be a nasty rotation.
Oh my gosh.
They did just lose Javi Baez, who signed with the Tigers.
Yeah. Any other big names that you can think of?
There's some guys who still haven't signed, like Correa hasn't signed anywhere. Corey Seager signed to the
he's
same thing with Marcus Semien. Yeah, those are some big signings. I mean, the Rangers might mess around and win 70 games.
Max Scherzer's career Philadelphia Phillies career statistics against Max Scherzer. The average is 136 with a 173 on base percentage, 216 slugging, and a 390 on base plus slugging.
Yeah, he has your number.
Let's see. 4 home runs with 5 RBIs, 9 base on balls, 63 strikeouts. Oh my gosh.
But some other names that have signed: Robbie Ray signed with the Mariners. Starling Marte.
Yeah,
went to the Mets.
that surprised me. Robbie Ray going.
Yeah, Marcus Stroman went to the Cubs. Kevin Gausman went to the Blue Jays. Chris Taylor is signing with the Dodgers, re-signing. Verlander's going back to the Astros. Those are really only like the super big ones. Chris Bryant, Castellanos, and Freeman and Correa have not signed anywhere as of yet. But those are some big names to look out for.
Oh, Camargo. I thought for sure Camargo was an outfielder.
Nah.
But yeah, he's a third baseman.
Oh, guess who just got suspended?
Who?
Antonio Brown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, has
That's
been
actually
suspended without pay for the next 3 games for violating the COVID-19 protocol.
wow. That honestly doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on with the lockout?
I don't know. They didn't reach a new deal, and so now we're in a lockout. Looking this up. They failed to reach a new labor agreement.
A new CBA, is that what it is? Something bargaining agreement?
Well,
Collective bargaining agreement.
I think that's it.
Yeah, so they're just waiting on that because that determines what money goes to what teams, right?
This is Antonelli's Cheese Shop, and we're the Antonellis.
Go
We chose
Antonelli.
our cash.
We're sponsored by Antonelli's Cheese Shop. We're not really.
Let's examine the MLB lockout from a Phillies perspective. So it just says a whole lot of nothing happens.
Yeah.
Teams and players cannot communicate in any form.
So we're not going to see any
comment on players.
Not going to see any free agent signings until there's a new deal signed.
Players on 40-man rosters cannot work out at team facilities.
So like you said, a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing. All right. I think with that, that's all I got. Is that all you got? All right. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you to all the people who keep on coming back. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Give us questions, comments on there. You guys can follow us at BL in the DC on Instagram. You can DM us questions there. You can email us questions and comments at blinthedc@gmail.com. And with that, I believe that's it. So we will see you guys next week.
See you guys later.